2 different fertilizers, and then he gave me a plant food to put in around the soil every 2 weeks. So I have done that once, because it's only been a month since I planted, but I'll look it up and I'll let you know soon.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna get started now.
Yeah.
Oh, Ashley, are you doing IG?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think I saved yesterday or Monday. Yeah, that was yesterday.
Let me make sure I got it. All right, so we're starting on Sutra 40 in Book 2, Sadhanapada. And Sutra 40 says, by purification arises disgust for one's own body and for contact with other bodies. When saucha or purity is observed, it makes you feel that even your own body is impure. Every minute there are secretions. Impurities are eliminated every second. The breath pours out carbon dioxide. The skin discharges perspiration. If we really think about it, it seems to be a very dirty place in which we live. No matter how much perfume we put on, it only hides the dirt. If our perspiration is foul, we spray on some deodorant. If our skin looks dirty, we dab on a little powder to hide it. Every time we cover the dirt, it comes back. When we realize this, we develop an indifference toward the body. Not that we neglect it, but we no longer adore it. The time we once spent on our bodies can be used for other purposes like japa, meditation, or reading spiritual books. When we feel our bodies are the embodiment of dirt, how can we be attracted to other bodies? These attractions will also get reduced and will certainly save us a great deal of trouble. When we spend more time on deeper things than the body and eventually go into spiritual matters, realizing we are the true self and not the body at all, we will not be interested in bringing 2 bodies together anymore. We will just think of this process as 2 cloths rubbing together, because there is no difference between the body and a cloth. One is a skin shirt, the other a cotton shirt. The real union is not the union of 2 bodies. What is it we call the masculine and feminine bodies? They are different shapes of flesh. By putting 2 lumps of flesh together, can we obtain nirvana? Not at all. Spiritual union doesn't necessarily mean physical union. People misinterpret Tantra Yoga as something to do with sexual union. Tibetan Tantric system speaks of Shiva and Shakti, Shiva being the masculine aspect, Shakti the feminine. This doesn't refer to physical forms, but to the positive and negative forces within each individual. The Hatha yogis call it the sun and moon. Ha means sun, Tsa is moon. The inner sun is in your solar plexus, the moon at the base of your spine. In order to become united, they must come together. This is known as prana apana. This is known as the prana apana union. Prana apana samayukta, says the Bhagavad Gita. The energy that flows down should be turned up and returned to its source. The heat produced by meditation goes up and affects certain psychic glands, which start to produce nectar juices. These flow from the base of the spine through the nerves, building them up, making them more alive, and helping them become almost immortal. The Sanskrit term amrita, or nectar, itself means immortal. Your body becomes filled with light, ojas and tejas, and it is converted into a yogic body. That is where the term offering your nectar to the altar comes from. Of course, those people interested in drinking will offer a bottle of whiskey at the altar and then take it back to drink as prasad, consecrated food. The mind can really deceive us. We should be sure of the esoteric meaning in the scriptures. If we take only the surface meaning, we might be misled. For example, take the offering of fruits at the altar. Who wants those fruits? Do you think God is going to eat them? It means offering the fruits of our actions to God. We are trees growing in nature, and all of our energy, our actions, our thoughts, our words are the fruits of our lives, which we must offer for the benefit of humanity in the name of God. This is where the term forbidden fruit in the Bible comes from. Each one of us is an Adam and an Eve because we try to eat the fruits of our actions, which we are forbidden to do. The biblical story doesn't mean that an Adam once lived who ate the forbidden fruit and we are reaping his sins. We are doing the same thing here and now. Every scripture has its own esoteric meanings in story form. This is because in ancient times, they didn't want everybody to understand the subtle techniques and follow them without proper preparation. In the ancient Indian medical science known as Ayurveda, for example, there's a method called Kaya Kalpa, used for the rejuvenation of the entire body. If its techniques were well known, many people would wish to rejuvenate their bodies just to enjoy the world, rather than to use them selflessly. So it's explained with code words which are not easily understood by just anyone. Another example is a powerful herb called musukai in the Tamil language. This is a very powerful drug which could be misused in the wrong hands. But musu also means monkey, and kai has the meaning of one's hand. So the preparation is called double monkey's hands. A person might go off, cut off 2 monkeys' hands, and try to make a medicine. Ignorant people are saved from hurting themselves or others. But once we have purity of mind, no doubt someone will come to tell us that the true meaning of these things are and what is to be done. When the disciple is ready, the guru comes, is a well-known Hindu saying. When the receiver is well-tuned, the music comes. We need not send out invitations. All that is necessary is for us to tune ourselves. Then, without even a second's delay, the guru will come in some form. If we are not ready, though, even with 100 gurus around, we won't be benefited. For a guru can't force anything into us. We must be ready to receive. Similarly, the music is within the radio, but the radio cannot force the speaker to vibrate and bring it out. That is why preparation, developing virtues like yama and niyama, is very important. So he starts out talking in this sutra about saucha, which is the concept of purity or cleanliness or clearness. Sometimes it's also translated as of the body, of the mind, and of your speech. So the translation says by purification arises disgust for one's own body and for contact with other bodies. I think a more appropriate word now might be to use indifference rather than disgust, because I don't think disgust has a very negative connotation as a word, but I think what he means to say is that so it's this idea that when you start to pay attention to your internal environment, you start to become really hypersensitive to the things that disrupt the purity of that internal environment. So, for example, maintaining a pure body, when you start to eat a really healthy diet, if you have a meal that's not so healthy, you might notice that you don't feel good in your body, or that your spirit doesn't feel good, or that you have this heavy sense in your spirit. So you start to become hypersensitive to things that are disrupting that quality of sattva, that quality of lightness in your body and in your mind as well. So there are so many purification practices that the yogis use, like a lot of them we learned, for those of us who have done teacher training, we've learned a lot of some of the purification kriyas that yogis use to purify their bodies. But why purification of the body is so important is, like I said, to maintain that quality of sattva, of lightness, so that you can actually experience communion with Ishvara, with God. But they say that, purifying the body at its most basic level is ensuring that your body is clean, and that the area surrounding your body is clean, and that this, at the most basic level, keeps you safe from sickness and disease. So obviously that's a major theme that we're all experiencing right now. The importance of cleanliness, I think, is probably highlighted more now than it has ever been, with the coronavirus going around and with everybody, buying up all the Clorox and all the cleaning products right now. But we see firsthand why this is so important. And the yogis say that we have to maintain optimal well-being in our physical body, because disease and sickness can be distractions. They create suffering, obviously, and living in that place of suffering distracts from your being able to be absorbed. So he also says in one part that once you become pure, that you just ignore the body. So I think ignore is also like the wrong word, because I mean, even we as people who practice yoga and stuff know that we have to pay so much attention to purifying our bodies. Otherwise, with our diet and with our other cleansing practices. But I think he just means that you just become less concerned with your bodily urges. So like eating excessively, that becomes less of, you're not, it reminds me of something that Jafar said in his training, that you want to, I forgot exactly what he said. You want to nourish yourself and not your emotions. So then when you take the emotions out of the equation, it makes it easier to, you don't have the urge to eat in excess, or to eat foods that are not nourishing your true self, at least. So you don't have the urge to eat foods that incite heaviness or incite rajas necessarily. And I like that he also goes into detail about sexual relationships in this part, which I think is really important. And I like the distinction that he makes here about Tantra yoga, because a lot of people do think that it's like this like sexy thing, and it in its basic practice, it really isn't about that. And I think in our culture too, like sexual relationships we don't often associate who we are as a person, or I mean, it depends obviously on the person, but we don't all the time associate who we are, what we're like as a person, with the type of sexual relationships that we have. But once you do start to pay very close attention to your internal environment, you can see very clearly that having certain sexual relationships do not incite lightness in your being. They can incite the exact opposite. They can be very toxic if you're not very careful about that. And I think he's also talking about, in terms of maintaining purity, that everything that we consume, or that everything that's in our physical bodily environment, has an energy attached to it. So you can notice when you start to pay attention to that internal environment, and you do reach those states of feeling very light and very pure, like anything that doesn't feel that way, you can tell that it has, I don't want to say, I hesitate to say a negative energy, but an energy that brings your vibration down to a place that you can't really commune with God. So that's why I think that this practice especially is so important. It's funny because yesterday I didn't read the sutra ahead until last night, but after we got off the call yesterday, I cleaned my whole apartment. But it was just like a weird coincidence that I just had this urge to like really deeply clean the entire apartment. And I think in the springtime, that's an urge that a lot of us can have naturally, is that as summer is approaching and we're getting some more energy back, that we have this urge to just like clear everything out and like clean and get rid of this heaviness from kapha season almost. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny too. Do you guys have anything you want to add? Can we unmute?
Well, I started cleaning the bathrooms yesterday, which desperately needed it. I'm still not done. And yeah.
I certainly can relate with clean space. Like if my house is not clean, and I can handle like dust on furniture, but I can't handle messes and like dirty floor. I just can't because then I can't function. So like that quote, I don't know if it's a saying, like mess around you, make the mind a mess. That is like absolutely me. And I'm so sensitive to it. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I think as it pertains to anything in your physical environment, not maintaining that cleanliness or purity is just, like they always talk about how you want to have reverence for everything. So if you're not paying attention to it, and if you're neglecting it, and if you're just letting it, get dirty, then that kind of insinuates that you're not having reverence. You're not in a state of reverence for those things. Anybody else?
Yeah, I particularly liked in this sutra towards the end where he said, the quote, when the disciple is ready, the guru comes. It is well-known Hindu saying, when the receiver is well tuned, the music comes. We need not send out invitations. All that is necessary is for us to tune ourselves. Then without even a second's delay, the guru will come in some form. And if we're not ready though, even with 100 gurus around, we won't be benefited. That just rang so true to me that, you can read all the stuff that you want, you can do the practice, but unless you're really ready, I don't know, you just have to prepare yourself so that when you are ready, stuff kind of happens around you. I feel like I've experienced that. When you're ready to receive, then you'll receive. And I like the way he wrote, I like the way he said that, because I find that very true.
So here's a funny
thing.
something.
Other people receive. You can't make it happen for other people. You have to wait. Prepare the ground. It's all about tilling the soil and stuff that we talked about before, and preparing the environment. You have to just wait and be ready to do all the work, so that when to make yourself ready to receive. And you can't do it for other people. They have to do it for themselves.
Jackie, that kind of ties up to I think it was a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about watching our kids go through stuff and hurting. And that because we went through it, what they should not be doing, or what would really help to make a complete shift. And you're kind of like helpless just watching, because you can't teach them the lessons they're not ready to learn. And they gotta sometimes, I know I was one of those people. I had to really get burned to learn anything. It didn't matter who gave me what tips or what ideas to avoid all the pain I went through, because I wasn't there.
Right.
And something that happens with me a lot are books. I had a book, I can't remember. It's similar. The title is very similar to one of the books that Pam has been reading in, what do you call it? In the yoga philosophy circle. And I had it for a long time, and I picked it up one day, and I was like, I started reading, and I go, I didn't realize I have this book. And then reading into it, and I'm like, oh, but if I try to read this book last year, probably everything would have gone over my head.
Yeah.
And Another book was the Louise Hay book. Same thing. And the first page, I had it for a long time and I never read it. And it was a used book that I bought somewhere, and it's signed for someone. Like, it's really old, there are pages falling out. And the first page in that book says the fact, or the second page, like, the fact that you got this book means that you're ready to receive what's in it.
Right.
I love that. And I think in yoga philosophy, it's like sometimes when I was reading the yamas and niyamas, like I often think like, I wish I knew this before. I wish I knew this earlier, because it really is just like a full roadmap of how to purify yourself and to be ready to receive these, to receive certain teachings. And yeah.
But it's true, if you're not right, I mean, you can be swimming in it. I used to work the New Life Expo. I was 22. There were a gazillion yoga teachers in there. There were all these people doing Reiki. I used to run up and down the staircase past 3 people doing Reiki a million times, like over this whole weekend that I worked, and I rolled my eyes at them, like every time I passed them, because back then I just didn't believe in it. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I took a lot from working there. I really did. And all these seeds that planted back then, and I'm so grateful for it. But there was all this other stuff that, like, now I look back and I'm like, man, I had it all there and I just didn't get it. It all went over my head, but I guess I wasn't ready.
Yeah. So I think, sorry, what were you going to say? Okay. So I think, yeah, he's concluding this. So this is the last yama and niyama section of this part of the sutras. So I think what he's saying is just that, is that all of these practices together are what help prepare you for that real deep spiritual work that comes afterward. And that, or prepares you for being able to experience that full absorption. But that is really, it's a practice of all of them that occurs over time. So it's like, you can be a yoga teacher and it doesn't necessarily mean that you've been practicing all these things for enough time to be ready to absorb every single teaching you're ever going to read in any book about yoga. Mm-hmm. It's like, it takes a lot of time and practice of all of them together.
Sure.
Should I read the next one?
It's already, what time? It's 8:02.
8:02, so should we
it would be, yeah, because otherwise I guess it'll be like super rushed. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
I can share the story that I have if I can find it. There's so yesterday I was reading this book. It's by Swami. It's the same. I shared something from it yesterday, but it's about an apple tree. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, and it's when you were reading something in the beginning, it made me think of it, and it says it's basically how we give. The entire nature demonstrates the joy of giving. Look at an apple tree. It gives us thousands of fruits. If you were to ask the tree, hey, how many fruits do you give in a season? You might hear the following. Oh, several thousand. Do people come and beg you for them? No, I don't wait for that. I just give. Without their even asking, yes, that's my nature. I find it a joy to give that way. What if people throw stones at you? What do you do then? Well, probably those people get even more fruit. Suppose nobody comes to take your fruit. That's their business. I don't want to eat my own fruit. I just drop them. But your apples are so delicious. Don't you even want to try one? If you have the ears to hear, you will hear the tree laughing at you. Oh, I'm not like the human beings who eat their own fruit. Only human beings run after their own fruits. And that is why they are so unhappy.
There you go.
And that was part of that what you were reading in the beginning, like the first few lines where it says how we want to reap our own fruits.
Yeah, he talks about the Adam and Eve story, and he says it's not right at the beginning, but he says each one of us is an Adam and an Eve because we tried to eat the fruits of our own actions, which we are forbidden to do. The biblical story doesn't mean that an Adam once lived who ate the forbidden fruit and we are reaping his sins. We are doing the same thing here and now. And I think all of these practices, especially Saucha, it really is the ceasing of just bodily urges, like purifying yourself through ceasing the bodily urges and just doing what you need to do to be pure and clean and sattvic. And that includes a lot of different things.
It's also the whole practice of being aware of our thoughts and keeping our thoughts, trying to keep our mind clean and pure.
Yeah, he doesn't touch on that so much in this, but it's definitely a huge part of it is keeping your mind and your speech.
Where's that? There's a quote, but is it? I don't know if it's Gandhi. You become your thoughts. Like, I love that quote, but I can't even think who said it.
Yeah, I don't know who said that one, but it's a good one.
Like, watch your thoughts, because your thoughts. I'm not gonna remember it. I'm terrible at remembering anything.
I liked in that story, Micheline, that he said, when they said, so what if people throw stones? And the tree said, well, they'll probably get more fruit. I like that.
We so can't do that. You throw stones at me, I'm like, I'm not giving you no apples.
Right? But there's a lesson.
I'm gonna walk away, or otherwise we get really pissed.
Yeah.
So I want to do a little bit alternate nostril breathing, but when we finish, I was thinking about if we just did a chant, like just 12 times. I want to do Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Oh yes.
I will type it in the chat. I just feel like the world needs this chant right now, and it would be nice for us all to do it together. And so what I'm going to do is once we finish a couple, maybe 5 rounds of alternate nostril, we're going to put our thumb on the bottom line of our pinky finger. And to reach 12, we're just going to do bottom line, middle line, top line, bottom line, middle line, top line, bottom line, middle line, top line, bottom line, middle line, top line. And by the time you're done, you should reach Gyan Mudra, and we'll just enter meditation from there. All right, so let's start off with alternate nostril, taking the 2 pointer fingers into the center of the palm. We're going to use the ring finger to block off the left nostril, thumb to block off the right nostril. Let's take a deep inhale through both. Exhale through both. Using the right thumb to block off the right nostril, taking an inhale through the left. Closing off the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Closing off the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the left. To the right, sorry. And exhaling through the left. Okay, so we're gonna chant just 12 times this mantra. I will put it in the comment section here. And 12 times. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 Dropping into your meditation.